Hi, this is Rainbow Harmony, here to help you find balance and peace to live a more colorful life. And welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing another rainbow talk, and the topic of today's discussion is spiritual awakening. You guys, I cannot believe I've had this channel going for over 4 years and I have yet to do a series on spiritual awakening. I've talked to many of you guys about it in personal readings and in my life coaching services, and of course in some of the pick a card readings I've done here on the channel, but I really wanted to take this opportunity to do more of an in-depth discussion on spiritual awakening. So today is going to be episode 1. This is going to be probably like a 5-parter or a 6-parter, so make sure that you come back to my channel over the next couple of weeks, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so that you get notified as I continue to release talks on spiritual awakening. But today we're going to be talking about what is spiritual awakening. So what is spiritual awakening? We're going to go over some common spiritual awakening symptoms, and then we're going to be talking just briefly an introduction to the first phase of spiritual awakening, because there are many phases in this process, okay? But first, I want to tell you guys a little bit about my journey through spiritual awakening, just briefly, because I could go on forever about this. So I don't exactly remember what year this was. This is like maybe definitely more than 4 years ago, right before I started my channel, probably 5 or 6 years ago. I was living in Los Angeles and I had just been through a major trauma in my life. And trauma is actually one of the things that can actually spawn or set off a spiritual awakening. So I personally remember all of a sudden having this kind of loss of identity. I was going through a huge grieving process. I was also receiving therapy for some of the things I was going through, and I was just looking around and realizing that I did not like the life I had created for myself. I was not resonating a lot with some of the habits and choices and decisions that I was making, and I just didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't really know what I wanted in life. And so call it a midlife crisis, quarter life crisis, spiritual awakening, whatever, but I basically had this loss of identity and I had this blank slate, this blank canvas upon which I really needed to build upon. At the same time, I started realizing I had an increased sense of empathy. I started looking around and seeing the system or the matrix. I was becoming a lot more aware of that. I wasn't just believing what the media was telling me. And especially living in a huge city like Los Angeles, which is beautiful and amazing, and it contributed so much to my life, but also there's a lot of fake energy going on there. A lot of people who are very fake, a lot of people who are chasing clout, and I was just starting to feel so disillusioned with that whole process. So I was going through trauma, I was going through a major loss, I was starting to become a lot more empathetic, loss of identity, and a lot of these are actually symptoms of depression. So of course I was also going through depression, I was having a lot of anxiety, but I was just trying to cope with that. Around the same time, I found myself asking a lot of big questions about life, like what is my purpose? Why am I here? I started studying a lot more about philosophy and world religions, and started reading more esoteric texts, and I found myself starting to awaken a lot more to this deeper side of me. I started eating healthier, I started doing yoga, I started meditating, obviously I found the tarot, and that was just my personal kind of adventure through spiritual awakening. One of the main things that spiritual awakening personally connected me with was the fact that I am the creator of my reality. I have the ability to shape my world through my thoughts, through my feelings, through my actions, and through my perceptions. So up until that point, I really felt like I was just a victim of life. I had these completely other different viewpoints. I was confused because I was raised to believe certain things and to think a certain way. I was treated certain ways by people around me, and this is the first time in my life where I took the reins and decided, this is who I want to be, this is who I am, I am finding myself, and I'm going to take the reins, I'm going to create the life that I want, I'm going to believe what I want, and I'm going to explore it. I just never felt that freedom before to explore. So I explored different beliefs. I explored different viewpoints. I started trying different things on for size. I really gave myself time to play and discover, and it was an amazing time in my life. But it wasn't so amazing because there is a process in spiritual awakening called the dark night of the soul, which we're going to talk about, where you're really feeling it. Yeah, you're going through this depression, this purging phase. So I definitely went through that. But I was connected with the law of attraction. That was something that was really cool for me. And I learned how to manifest. And I'm now, to this day, I'm still learning more about myself. I'm still like discovering this process and what it means to me. But I haven't been the same ever since. I truly feel a lot happier now. I truly feel like I know myself. I truly feel like I have the ability to make my own decisions. I feel like I have support around me and also spiritually. And the thing about spiritual awakening is that it's a very, very personal process for each person. Just because it's called spiritual awakening does not mean that everyone goes through like this awakening process to go on a spiritual path. So spiritual awakening has nothing to do with you getting into like Reiki, tarot, crystal, kundalini, yoga, stuff like that. Like you can have a spiritual awakening and like never go down that path and never mess with those things. So it really is just you awakening to your true self, okay? So speaking of, what is spiritual awakening? Personally, I would define spiritual awakening as the soul's cry for freedom. It's you essentially awakening to the fact that you have a soul, that you are more than just this flesh, than just this body. You are a soul or a spiritual being that is having a human experience. So let's talk about some symptoms of spiritual awakening and break these down a little bit so you can understand more about what a spiritual awakening is. But once again, it's very different for each person and it can manifest differently for everyone. So one symptom of spiritual awakening is having dreams, like very, very vivid dreams, and dreams that feel more spiritual in nature. Some people might explain these dreams as almost like a trip, like having lucid dreams, dreams of departed loved ones, maybe dreams of angels or spirit guides, things like that, or just, it could even be nightmares, flashbacks, things like that. Just dreams that are very, very, very vivid and very trippy and maybe even feel almost like spiritual in nature. You wake up from these dreams asking questions, wondering like, what was that about? So whether the dreams are positive in nature or darker in nature, for me personally, the dreams were kind of darker in nature because it was also kind of a symptom of my PTSD. That's another story. But these dreams are basically bringing up things inside of you that you need to face, that you need to heal, that you need to release. Or they're trying to get you connected with your guides or your ancestors or that spiritual side of yourself. So your subconscious is starting to awaken and ask questions, basically. Another symptom of spiritual awakening is ringing in the ears, because your body and your energy centers literally start to rise in frequency. So maybe not everyone gets this. And there is also a physical condition, I think it's called like tinnitus or something like that, where your ears can ring. I'm not sure if that's related. Some of these symptoms actually could also be medical symptoms. You might want to just get checked out by a doctor just in case, but it's like everything together that sort of puts it in that spiritual awakening category. It's important to make sure that you're looking after your health physically, but we are holistic beings, body, mind, and spirit, okay? So yeah, you might have ringing in your ears because you're raising in frequency, raising in vibration. You might feel extreme fatigue, because at this point in spiritual awakening, your life is basically caught up with you. You might be extremely stressed out from your job and from your lifestyle, from the choices you've made, from the circumstances in your life. You just feel exhausted. And that happens a lot, but this is a little different because the exhaustion you feel it on all levels, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and it's just, it won't go away. It's just lasting forever, and it's in combination with some of these symptoms. Headaches. you can actually have headaches as part of spiritual awakening because your third eye is starting to open, your crown chakra is opening, and your crown chakra has a lot to do with your ability to connect to spirit and your higher self, but also like receiving information. So because you're thinking of so many questions and you're having so many like thoughts and doubts about things and confusion, like you can have some headaches. Anxiety and depression is another symptom of spiritual awakening. Of course, this is a medical condition that I believe everyone should get checked out. If you really feel you're having extreme symptoms of anxiety and depression, of course, contact your doctor. But this can go along with spiritual awakening. I personally was being treated for anxiety and depression while going through a spiritual awakening. So it's possible for this to be a spiritual symptom, but to also be a very physical symptom as well. So it makes sense that you're going to feel anxiety because your life is changing, like you're having a loss of identity, like what you thought the world was or what you were taught your whole life, you're realizing is not your truth anymore. You might not really know who you are, what you want anymore. You're a little confused. You might feel depressed because things that you used to do that would just kind of chill you out or numb you out really aren't working anymore. You're realizing you want to make some changes. You just might not know how to go about that yet. You might also just be freaking out because you're like, what the heck is happening to me? Ringing in ears, crazy dreams, headaches, fatigue. So it makes sense. Another symptom of spiritual awakening is feeling like your life is a lie or like everything you've been taught is a lie. I remember when I kind of always knew this, but especially when I was going through spiritual awakening, I remember looking back at the school system and my education and the way that I was treated in school, because I was kind of like a rebel child. I ditched classes a lot. I didn't really fit in. Yeah, it was a really traumatic experience for me in school, even in college. And so, because I had learning disabilities and stuff, and just looking at how people are treated in the education system, what you're taught, like I learned so, especially lately, I've learned so much traveling that I was not taught in school, and I almost feel like I was like brainwashed by the education system growing up. Am I the only one? Does anyone else feel that way? Let me know in the comments below. But I'm really glad I learned, math and how to read and write. I'm thankful for that, but there are definitely a lot of things I learned that were conditioning, that were brainwashing, that were really just trying to get me to like learn how to be a good worker bee. And I just, the grading system, just everything, I don't mean to diss on teachers because I had some amazing teachers as well, but just the things I had been taught were a lie. Also, a lot of things that I personally was taught growing up, was definitely a lie. The lies and the illusions of society in general. I wonder if you can think of any. I just started to realize that. Before, I just kind of soaked everything up and I just took it on as my truth. I never really thought to question. Even though I am a rebellious Aquarius, there were so many things I did not question. And as part of my spiritual awakening process, I really started questioning everything. And that is how you know that you're waking up, because you are questioning things. And then feeling like your life is a lie. I looked around and I was like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Like, what is this life? This isn't me. Like, just feeling that disillusionment. Or feeling like your life is a lie, or like you're I realized I was having to wear a mask around certain people in my life, that there was certain versions of me I didn't feel were acceptable to certain people. So a huge part of my awakening process was taking off the mask and then letting go of people, places, and situations and habits that no longer serve me or that didn't resonate with my, my true self. Another symptom of spiritual awakening is experiencing profound empathy. So I think most of us are pretty empathetic, except for narcissists and psychopaths, okay? But the empathy that you start feeling when you're going through spiritual awakening is so intense, and it's almost like a psychic type of empathy. Like, you're able to understand things that other people are going through. It might even, you might even feel like an extreme empathy for the earth. Your empathy might even come out almost as anger. Like, why are people treating the planet like this? Why are people being discriminated against like this? Like, your empathy just gets so intense. So another symptom of spiritual awakening is wanting to isolate. And this goes further than just those of you guys who are introverted. And this could also be a symptom of depression, you know, wanting to be alone, wanting to isolate. But in the context of spiritual awakening, you want to be alone for many reasons. One, it's because you don't really know who you can trust or who you can really be your true self around. Two, you don't really know who you are anymore. You're also feeling so much empathy and you're like have a lot of anxiety, and so it just can feel really extremely draining to be around other people. You might not have learned yet how to have healthy boundaries or how to ground your energy or how to protect yourself, and so you just don't really like feel in control over your body and over your energies and over your emotions. You also might be like studying so much and like so fascinated with this process, having such a good time with it, that you're just really enjoying your own company. I mean, there's many reasons you might want to isolate, some positive, some a little bit more negative, but you just feel like you want to kind of go into hermit mode for a while you're going through these changes. It really is just like the butterfly or the caterpillar that goes into the cocoon to become the butterfly. We've got more symptoms here, you guys, and this is me narrowing it down. There's so many symptoms. The next symptom of spiritual awakening is being able to like really read people, like we just touched on with the extreme empathy, but also seeing how fake people can be. That's kind of a tough one. You might realize that someone you've been close friends with for so long is, you know, acting really fake around you, or says one thing and then acts another way. Like you just start seeing through to the true intentions of people. And you might also have this feeling like society's fake, you know, and so it can be a little difficult. The next symptom is heightened intuition. So your intuition is on point. You might think about someone and like 2 minutes later they call you. If you get into, a lot of people find their way into like reading tarot cards and stuff like that around this time, just because they naturally start feeling called to stuff like that. And for me, obviously, I found the tarot during my spiritual awakening, and to this day, I feel like I was way more on point back when I was going through my spiritual awakening. I'd like to think I'm on point now. Let me know in the comments below. But man, when I was going through my spiritual awakening, I was just like tapping into some stuff, you guys. Like your intuition is so extra heightened, like your psychic senses get heightened. You sometimes we're born with psychic abilities. I think everybody has them, and just in different ways, and there's many types of psychic abilities. But during your spiritual awakening, a lot of these get heightened, or they start to like wake up, because sometimes they lie dormant for years, and you just start realizing that there's like a whole other world out there. Like the way that you're able to tap into information and pick up on things, it's just incredible. Similar to that, another symptom, readjusting here, another symptom of spiritual awakening is experiencing increased synchronicity. So a lot of people talk about seeing 1111, which if you're really into numerology, then you know that this number is like an energetic gateway. It's like a symbol that you're awakening. It's a message to like look closer. Things aren't always what they appear. Like you're awakening. A number of like celebration. It's a message to wake up, find your purpose, you know, create the life that you desire. So you might see 1111, 222, just like number patterns everywhere. And I'm aware that the more that you start looking for things like that, when you start looking for signs, they're everywhere in this world. So just be aware of that. But these synchronicities come like at a very specific, opportune moment. And you start realizing, whoa, okay, this is a sign. You might have, for me, when I was going through spiritual awakening, I was getting really into like animal symbolism, like interpreting the spiritual meaning and metaphors of like animals that you encounter. And once I started paying attention to that, oh my gosh, I was seeing like rare animals. Like I freaking ran into a bear in the forest. Whew, that was crazy. I was seeing deer, I was seeing centipedes, like things that were really strange to see in Los Angeles, okay? I was seeing herons, a lot of cranes everywhere. It was just, yeah, lots of animals just hitting me, you know? I had hummingbirds flying up to my face. It was very, very interesting. So basically synchronicities, being in the right place at the right time. I had so many of those. Just real quick, I want to tell one more story. Probably the craziest synchronicity that I ever had when I was going through a spiritual awakening was I was doing this meditation because I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on. So like I was getting into meditation and just like learning how to connect with spirit guides or whatever, and I had this meditation that I like received, and in the meditation I received a necklace. It was like a gift to me, and it was a very specific, strange necklace. I'd never seen anything like it in my life, and it was so beautiful, it was so profound, the meditation was so realistic that afterwards I went and I actually drew what this necklace looked like. And 6 months later, I was working with this designer because I was a fashion stylist at the time, and I was working with her jewelry, and when I went back to her shop, she picked up this necklace and she gave it to me as a gift. And it wasn't until a few months after that, when I was packing to move somewhere else, that I found that drawing. I was wearing the necklace and I found the drawing of the necklace. I put two and two together and it was identical. I wish I had the drawing because I left it at my friend's house back in America. But if you guys want to see this, maybe I'll make a whole video about it. I'll show you the necklace, I'll tell the story in more detail, and I'll show you the proof, the deets, okay, the receipts. Like, this went down. I was literally gifted the exact necklace that I drew, and this necklace was so unique, like I could have never imagined it. So it was like a weird little I don't know, prophecy, synchronicity, something like that. You might actually dream things before they happen. I've had a lot of clients tell me that they're experiencing that during spiritual awakening. But yeah, basically synchronicity, weird stuff. And you might be going around trying to tell your friends, trying to tell people about it. They're just gonna think you're crazy. Unless you come here to Rainbow Harmony or connect with any other woke people out there and they're like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's happened to me. Okay, a couple more symptoms here. The next one is feeling curiosity, feeling a connection with your inner child. So you might feel like you want to get out in nature more, like you want to play more, like you want to go on more adventures. Maybe when you were little, you used to draw a lot, and so you start reconnecting with that side of yourself. So I would actually even add to this, reconnecting with sides of yourself that you have long left behind is another part of spiritual awakening. Another symptom, extreme open-mindedness. So whereas before you might have been really rigid in your ideals and in your beliefs, you might start feeling extremely open-minded and feeling like a lot more open to just other people's lifestyles, choices, decisions. Like, I personally was raised to believe one specific set of beliefs, and as I was going through spiritual awakening, I found myself abandoning that completely and opening myself up to many viewpoints. It wasn't even like I had made up my mind on what I believe or anything yet. I was just becoming more open and feeling the strength and the courage and the optimism to look around at the world and just explore a little bit. Next symptom of spiritual awakening, questioning who you are and your purpose. Okay, so you're gonna find yourself, I think everybody goes through this at a certain point in life, and for many of people it's during their spiritual awakening that they start questioning, who am I? What is my purpose? Why am I here? And the answer to that question is very unique and very different for each person. I want to just reiterate, there's really no right or wrong way to answer that. Some people never answer it. Some people, that's just what their life is about, is, being on that path and discovering that. Many people, in fact, find that their purpose is simply just to be here and be now and be who they are and be authentic and generate their unique energy. And other people find a completely different answer to it. That's what's so beautiful about this process, is that it's unique for everybody. The next, this one's hard, okay? this is the next one. Becoming aware of your negative habits. So a lot of people who like are addicts will usually start a spiritual awakening. Like the moment that they realize I'm an addict, that is when their spiritual awakening process starts. So you could realize a lot of negative habits you have. I personally, when I was going through spiritual awakening, realized that I had like kind of an addiction to gossiping and drama. I was surrounded by a lot of people who just wanted to talk crap on others. I was heavily participating in that. It started to just make me feel sick to my stomach. I started to realize the things that were coming out of my mouth, and I was just shocked, and I was like, okay, I really need to change this. I need to not like talk like this anymore. So it could be almost anything, but you just might be more aware of some habits that you have that really need changing. The next one, very similar, basically realizing that you have less tolerance for negativity, gossip, and drama. So whereas before you didn't really care about it, or maybe you participated in it, or maybe you were someone who chronically complained or was like chronically negative. Maybe you'd show up at a party and like leave early and like talk crap on the people who were there or something, or maybe you kind of stayed stuck in your little negativity bubble. You start feeling like I don't resonate with this anymore. I can't be like this anymore. Okay, I've got 4 more for you guys if you're still here with me, okay? The next one is pondering deep questions like, what is the meaning of reality, or are we living in a simulation, or like I don't know, like you might even start like looking into conspiracy theories, or just kind of, I don't know, like you start pondering some really deep questions, like really philosophical questions about life, and that's a sign that you're on the right track, that you're questioning things, that you're opening your mind. It's interesting. The next one is awakening in the middle of the night from 1 to 4 in the morning. That is actually called the witching hour. I think it's so funny. You might experience like heightened creativity at that time, or you might feel just like really antsy. That could also be like some type of medical symptom, so get that checked out. You never know, but if you're getting that in conjunction with all these symptoms, maybe you're going through a spiritual awakening. Maybe you're having trouble sleeping until like 4 in the morning. So yes, there are those of you guys out there who are insomniacs. Sending love and light to you guys. I've been dealing with that a long time. But this could also be a symptom of spiritual awakening. And the last symptom is a desire for a more meaningful life. Okay, so you're feeling like, I just don't know if what's been happening around me or what I've created is meaningful. I want a life that's more meaningful. And so that is another symptom of spiritual awakening. So after hearing all of these symptoms, let me know in the comments below if you feel like you've been going through spiritual awakening, or if you have already been through them. Something else I wanted to let you guys know about spiritual awakening is it's almost like, how long does it last? I've had a lot of people tell me that their spiritual awakening has gone on for multiple years. I don't remember where I read this, but when I first started going through my awakening, I was doing a lot of research because I was like, how long is this going to go on for? Because this is crazy. And I remember reading somewhere that it lasts like 3 years, which I would say is very, very accurate. My spiritual awakening lasted about 3 years. I'm on the other side, obviously. It's why I'm sitting here and I'm smiling and I'm, rainbow harmonying it up. But it was not like that in the beginning. Like, it was a crazy process. Some people even say that it's almost like a breakdown, mental breakdown. And I do want to just once again reiterate to you guys that some of these symptoms are literally symptoms of depression and anxiety, or a freaking mental breakdown. So do not be afraid to reach out and to get help, okay? Because nobody is an island. Sometimes you need that support. Oh, look who's coming to me. Come here, Thomas. Do you want to be on my video? Hi. Oh, no, he's getting shy. That's Thomas, by the way. The cute little dog that just like follows me everywhere. Anyways, you guys, the final thing I want to say is the first stage of the spiritual awakening process is disillusionment. So the first stage is basically a lot of these signs and symptoms start to rear their strange and ugly little head. So you basically start coming down with these symptoms, okay? And in our next talk, we're gonna discuss more this first stage of spiritual awakening and also the dark night of the soul, which is like a very infamous part of spiritual awakening. Maybe it sounds like this whole thing is just horrible and it's like, what the heck, who would want that? But I just want you guys to know that if you are awakening or you have awakened, you are not alone. You're also not awakening to be like better than anyone. There's no such thing as like if you're better because you're woke or something. It's not like you need to save people's souls or like wake people up. I mean, some people, that's your purpose, to like spread that love and light and put that word out there. But everybody is here on this planet for a different reason, with a different purpose. Not everyone here is meant to awaken. The people who are woke are not better than people who are not. It really is just, it just is what it is, you know? Everybody here on this earth plays a purpose in their own way. So keep that in mind. It is exciting when you get to meet other people who have awoken or awakened, and you get to share this experience with them. It's really nice to not be alone. Like, I personally was able to go online and find communities to explain to me what the heck was going on, and I found a lot of comfort in that. So I hope that you find comfort from this video, and if you want to comfort others and let them know they're not alone, please share your experience below. But yes, next time we're going to talk about the dark night of the soul, and we're going to talk more about like what happens when you get through spiritual awakening. So please stay tuned. Keep tuning in to this series. I'm going to be posting it at least once a week on my channel, maybe twice a week. We're just going to see. I'm kind of in a flow lately. But yes, you're going to feel so uplifted when you hear more about what happens on the other side of spiritual awakening. Because I'm here. I'm on the other side. I'm living the most amazing life, you guys, hands down. And everyone I know who's been through spiritual awakening is living on purpose, is enjoying their life, is raising the frequency of this planet, and is just having an amazing time. So just know that it's worth it. You're gonna get through it. You're awakening for a reason, even if you don't know what that is yet. Just keep going, okay? And I will see you guys next time. Peace out.